Hello and welcome back to how to turn your skill into an online high ticket business. Today we're going to be focusing on everything to do with how to bring leads in, how to nurture them pre-call, so then when you get on a sales call with them, they're nurtured, they're ready to buy, and you can continue the process over and over again. Now we're going to focus on making sure that this is completely automated, because this is part of the sales process that you don't want to be too muddled up in, because at the end of the day, you're going to end up having so many leads coming through. It's going to be an absolute nightmare if you're personally reaching out to everyone, sharing content assets, nurturing them consistently. It's just going to be a ball ache. And even if you was to get a salesperson in, it's not going to be the best use of their time. Naturally, you want your sales reps calling people, having active conversations, reaching out to them on WhatsApp. You don't want the mundane things being something that a human is responsible for. And that's why we're going to automate everything. Now, the best way to go about this is to have a Go High Level account. So I'm going to show you the process and how I would automate the workflows from the moment someone comes into my lead magnet until they book in a call, and everything that happens after they've booked in a call until the point where they have that discovery call with me. So I'm going to show you this on Go High Level now. What you can see here is my Go High Level account. Now I'm going to go over into marketing workflows and I'm going to go into my new leads. The crash course is my lead magnet. It's my product for prospects. This is what I give to people in exchange for their contact information. What I mentioned in the previous video about the product for prospect being something that has to carry a lot of weight and value. Either I'm going to go into my lead magnet workflow that I've got here. The trigger on this, as you can see, is a form submission. So this is the form that's connected on my landing page, which is hosted on Lovable. As you can see on my landing page, I have my heading, my subhead, my VSL, and then get instant access button here. And once that's been opened, you'll find this form. Now this form is a form that I created in Go High Level, and this allows me to collect opt-ins. So essentially, when I go into my Go High Level, if I just come back off this, go over to sites, go over to forms, and then I can see my Built to Grow crash course form. All I need to do is click this integrate button in the top here, and then embed code however I want it. I can just copy the code and paste that into Lovable and it will copy over. So back to automations anyway. Once you go on to the marketing workflows that I created, and I strongly recommend organizing your workflows in this kind of way, just so everything is strategically placed, because as the business grows, as you start to hire your sales team, your workflows will become quite packed and overrun. And for us specifically, with the clients that we have at Sales Growth Club, the workflows can be chaotic. So having it ordered from day dot is going to be really important for you. But either way, you can see that the trigger is the form that they've submitted here. And then what happens is they get assigned to a user. Once you build a team, you'll have your dialer here, but as you can see, it's just assigned to me because I'm ultimately going to be the one calling. And then it creates an opportunity in my pipeline, and then it will add an owner to the opportunity. This webhook is to notify my Discord. So I mentioned in the previous, all of my notifications are stored on the Discord. Then I have my email workflow. The email workflow is relatively straightforward. The overall goal of this is to deliver as much value as possible and encourage people to book a call. It's likely that some people will come through the emails and book a call manually, but this can't be the expectation as a whole. You're going to have a combination of email and SMSs here. However, you're going to have to call people up as well, have conversations, go in for feedback, find out how people found your product for prospects, and then start to leverage that to get people booked in on calls. We have to be fully creative here. Multiple touch points is the only way we're going to get real outcomes. My first email is relatively simple. It's just an email delivery. So you can see that I've got the link to my crash course in there. And then I've just given them a heads up that I'm going to be reaching out to them over the next 2 weeks with some more content, with some more value. The purpose of these emails the call to action should be to get on a call, but the whole focus for this is to genuinely give value away. So you've given value with your product for prospects. You want to be doing the same in your email thread so you don't come across like a pushy salesperson. By the way, if you go through the crash course and if we have a conversation, I do have templates on how to structure this 14-day email campaign. So if at any moment you wanted access to that, feel free to reach out to me and we can have a conversation. I can send that over to you. But essentially, I have a 14-day email and SMS campaign that comes off the back of someone opting in, with the primary focus to nurture, but then also to make sure they actually consume the product for prospects, whatever that might be. We want to make sure that we're encouraging people to actually do it. And then I'm also encouraging them to book in a call with me and discuss how they can implement their business idea. And then ultimately, what's going to happen next is people are going to book in a call with you. So step 2 in this process is to have a call booking nurture process as well. And this is again something that needs to be automated. There's 2 things that you need to do for this to be extremely successful. The first thing you need is reminder emails, because sometimes people forget their allocated appointment time, and that's frustrating for us, and we don't want to constantly be having to reach out to them. Bear in mind, when someone books in a call with them, we should be triaging, meaning we're calling them the day before, making sure that we've got all the information required from them and making sure that they actually turn up to the call. But reminder emails, and to be honest, SMS as well, make sure that you stay front of mind for them and they ultimately don't forget. The second thing that kind of embeds with these reminder emails is pre-call content assets. Pre-call content assets are what's going to nurture your leads. So once they've booked in a call with you, they need to consume something that speaks about your offer or speaks about the potential objections that might appear, and basically walks them through the process, makes them feel confident in making the investment. The reason why we have pre-call content assets is to pre-sell. So essentially, they're not jumping on the call completely cold. They've seen your ad, or they've had a conversation with your setter. Then they've come through and they've looked at some of your YouTube. They've then seen your product for prospect. They've then booked in a call, and then they've seen a pre-call asset. After all of that material, they should be sold and ready to go. It's like what I mentioned previously about it takes 7 hours worth of content to become a fan. These pre-call assets adds to that 7 hours worth of content. So it's really critical that we have that in place. Arguably, the final thing that we need is, and I know that I said there was only 2 things, but there's actually another, a thank you page. Thank you page. Now, on Go High Level, the thank you page is very generic. It's just thank you for booking your appointment. It's on this time, this date. It's just a generic message, right? But we want to go above and beyond and create an experience for our prospects that make sure that we're seen as a credible solution. We need to make sure that we are premium. We need a thank you landing page which makes us look premium. Here's an example of the landing page that I created. As you can see here, I have my thank you page, and you can see that I've got my logo right here, and then it says, your appointment is not confirmed yet. Someone's going to go and book the appointment. They're going to turn up to this landing page and they can be like, oh, my appointment's not confirmed yet. I'm sure I booked it. What else do I need to do? And then I've given them instructions. So you have to watch this 3-part video series before your call. And these are my pre-call assets. And then what happens next? Well, check your email for the booking confirmation and add the meeting to your calendar so you don't miss it. Now, all of this is just gearing them up to have a productive conversation with you and make sure they actually turn up. This will dramatically increase your show rate because people are watching this and saying, okay, these are the things that I need to do in order for my appointment to be confirmed now. So they do add it to their calendar. And you'd be surprised about how many people will just do as you ask them. All you need to do is ask someone to do something and they'll do it. But if you don't ask, it's very unlikely that they're going to do it. And then I've let them know that an advisor will reach out to them to confirm their appointment as well. So a member of the team will be in contact. It will either be me or a salesperson. And this is the triage structure that we spoke about. And then come prepared for you and your future. It's a super simple thank you page. And again, it took me 5 minutes to build this out on Lovable. And basically what you would do is you would go into your Go High Level, go over to your calendar, you'd select your appointment, and then I can go over to edit here. And then I can go into my advanced settings, forms and confirmation. And then you'll see here, you can add a default or a redirect URL. And you can see that my thank you page is the redirected URL. That's all you need so that whenever someone does book in a call with you, they follow a specific process that allows them to understand your business in more depth, see you as a credible and reliable source, and also be nurtured and actually show up to the call and ready to invest. Just to give you a bit of insight in how I would deliver those pre-call assets, and obviously the thank you page is directly after they've booked in a call. So essentially someone would book in a call and then they would automatically be redirected into that thank you page. But I still make sure that I have workflows and automations, emails and SMSs in place so it delivers it to them in case they've missed it. If I look into my new business plan called Booking Automation, what you can see here is very similar to the new leads. It'll assign the appointment to a user, so the appointment user ID. If it books into my closer's calendar, then it will assign it to them. If it books into mine, it will assign to me. It will create the opportunity, and then it will deliver the workflow, the webhook. Just to give you a bit of insight on what those Discord notifications look like. So what you can see here is my Discord room where I'll have my team and I'll have my community. And you'll see in here, you'll see new leads coming through, and you'll be able to see meetings being booked here as well. So that's where the webhook's directing me. This just allows myself and my team to instantly be able to see when someone comes in, who's coming, and we can approach with speed to lead, give them a call, welcome them into the group, find out how they're getting on with the crash course, and so on and so forth. And this is something that you should be implementing for your business as well. I've also got a series of emails and SMSs. Now, it's not as long as the lead magnet would, because that's a 14-day process encouraging people to book. This is simply a reminder. Here, I've delivered my pre-call assets. So you can see here, watch the pre-call training series here. And again, this is 30 minutes worth of content that they will need to watch before the call. What I would strongly recommend, if someone doesn't watch the assets before the call, they're probably not that serious. So I'll do the discovery call, make sure that they watch the content assets before I pitch. They need to watch the assets, otherwise you're pitching for no reason. You're pitching someone who isn't that serious. And then you've got a series of SMS messages to encourage them to actually consume the assets and remind them to do it before the call. And then 24 hours before the call, you've got another reminder, an SMS. 1 hour before the call, you've got another SMS reminder. And bear in mind, you'll add a phone call step in there as well. There's enough touch points there to ensure that people actually turn up to the call. And it's crazy that this is something that a lot of people genuinely don't do. It's such a simple process that's going to massively increase your show rate. If your show rate is 30% and we get your show rate to 60%, then that instantly doubles your revenue, right? So we need to optimize for absolutely everything. Close rate, show rate, booking rate, they're all the same. Once you have all of those automations in place and you know that all you need to do is drive traffic to your top of funnel, because once they enter your lead magnet, you're going to have their information, or your product for prospect, you're going to have their information. They're going to be nurtured via email. They're going to be worked by your sales team or by yourself to get them booked in on a call. Then they're going to have all of the assets. Your middle of funnel kind of does the job. And I mentioned this on the previous video. You don't really need to focus too much on the middle of funnel. Naturally, that's where you'll build a team. You'll build a team around that middle of the funnel to make sure that they're nurturing conversations. The primary focus for you needs to be your top of funnel. So to drive traffic to your top of funnel, you need to focus on 3 things. And we discussed this previously. But the first one is outbound. Now, most people avoid outbound because people are just like, oh, I don't want to do cold DMs. It's a waste of my time. It's a £10 task. Like, it needs to get done. Businesses aren't going to grow straight away through organic. And if you're running ads before you've tested the market, before you've genuinely spoken to people, then you could be pissing your money away. The first thing you want to do is go all in on your outbound. And then the next thing you want to do is content. Now, content is a long-term game. Content isn't going to get you results straight away, but content will accumulate over time and eventually become the backbone and the fuel of your business, the entire revenue driver. I would never stop doing outbound. I'd encourage everyone to always have a DM setter in place. When you stop doing outbound yourself, have a DM setter in place, get a DM setter in early. The moment you've proved concept, get the DM setter in and have them continue to reach out to people. Because even when you're creating content, you're getting a lot of engagement, you're getting comments, you're getting likes. It's unlikely that you're going to have the time and the bandwidth to reach out to everyone who engages with your content. And not everyone who engages with your content is going to come through as an inbound lead. So you need to have a DM setter in there that's constantly managing your audience, having conversations and driving people to your top of funnel. Then the final one is your ads or your paid media, right? Now, this is going to be critical as well, but this comes later. The moment you start generating revenue in your business, that's not your money. That's your business's money. It's only your money when your business makes enough that it can pay you a salary. You're the last person that gets looked after. And it's crazy because we want financial freedom. And the only way you can get financial freedom is through starting a business. However, when you first generate your first bit of revenue, most of that needs to go back into the business. It needs to cover your expenses for your content editing, and it needs to go into ads. It's going to bring in more people. Your top of funnel is going to go crazy. Ads will be what changes the game for you. However, these two things cannot be ignored. You need to be consistent with your outbound and you need to be consistent with your content. Now, I want to first talk a little bit about how to be as efficient as possible with your outbound efforts. Depending on who you're targeting, you're going to have a different platform to focus on. All right, you might be a B2B organization targeting SaaS companies. If that was your market, then I'd strongly recommend LinkedIn, probably the best platform for you to outbound. And if you're targeting more the online business space or more B2C markets, I probably focus more on Instagram. Now, these are the two main platforms that I would focus my attention. There's ways that we can automate both of this. Instagram, we can use ManyChat. If someone comes through, we can automate messages to drive them towards our lead magnets or our product for prospects. But with LinkedIn, there's a number of LinkedIn automation tools where we can connect LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So Sales Nav is, I think it's an investment of about maybe like $90 or something like that. But an investment of Sales Navigator allows you to create very detailed prospect lists. Then you compare that with a LinkedIn automation tool, which ultimately allows you to send outreach messages and follow-up messages automatically. So it's incredible for that use case because then you're only really responding to people who have got back to you. And the automation handles the follow-up and the long-term nurture and all of that sort of stuff, so long as you build out a good campaign. Instagram is less automation tools available for specific outbound, but this is where you would hire a DM setter who can sit on your Instagram and ultimately reach out to people on your behalf. Now, your DM setter will perform two functions. Outbound, they're ultimately reaching out to new people, starting new conversations and bringing new people into your ecosystem. And the inbound is where they're responding or they're reaching out to people who have commented on posts, followed you, liked your stuff, and everyone who's engaging in your content. Now, my strong recommendation on when to hire a DM setter is essentially when you can't do the work yourself. Now, I've always said in the early stages of starting a business, you should do everything. And you might be thinking, well, that doesn't give me any leverage. And I understand that, which is why it's not something that you'll continue for a long time. But you need to do everything to begin with. And the reason I say that is because when you do it all, you understand and you learn the process. If you don't do anything and you just expect a DM setter who's far less experienced than you, probably has a few months worth of sales experience, and you just expect them to build your entire sales function from the ground up, then you're losing your head. You need to go in there, do it, understand the conversation flow, understand how your audience respond to you, and then you need to train a DM setter to replace you. So before you hire a DM setter, you need to have done it yourself. So do it yourself. And then you need to have SOPs. So SOPs are just your standard operating procedures. So you need to be able to document exactly what you've done that's enabled you to find the lead, reach out to the lead, start the conversation, build rapport, do your discovery, book them in on a call, or book them into your lead magnet, or get them into your top of funnel. You need to be able to document that entire process, and then you need to onboard someone to deliver it for you. I wouldn't recommend hiring a DM setter until you understand exactly what that process looks like, because it's going to be even more chaotic if you hire a DM setter before you do that. And ultimately it's going to slow down the growth of your business because they're not going to be able to do it as good as you. Now, when it comes to actually managing your DM setter, even once you've SOP'd it, you can't just expect your DM setter to smash it out from the jump. Yes, maybe you get an amazing DM setter in who just hits the ground running, but what you find is people management is often the most difficult part of building a business because you have different personalities that you need to manage. So you need to create a consistent training process for your DM setter. So you're constantly providing feedback loops. So you need to be constantly reviewing what they're doing, identifying where they're going wrong or what they could be doing better, providing those feedback loops on a consistent basis, ideally twice a week. So you want to be having 2 calls with them a week at least. And then that's how they're going to really improve. And then you need to be able to track daily reports. So you need to understand what your metrics look like. So you need to know how many messages lead to how many responses are positive responses, how many positive responses lead to a positive outcome. You need to understand the metrics for each stage, and that's how you identify where the bottlenecks are, and that's what you can optimize on your next training call. And then something that I love to have in all of my sales teams are these 2 things: performance bonuses. So when your setter is overperforming, then you want to provide incentives for them to continue to do that. So I usually add percentages on top of their commissions when they hit targets or other bonus incentives. And what you also want to do is offer a clear progression route. You want your DM setter to feel like there's progress in the company. You don't want them to feel like they're going to be a DM setter forever. They might be an incredible DM setter, but might want to become a phone setter. You need to be able to provide them with a route that enables them to get there. So it could be, well, hit target, hit this amount in cash collected, bring in this many meetings, and then you can step up. Whatever you want to run, you want to provide a progression route so the setter feels like there's more that they can do, and it enables them to want to be involved in your company. Next, in order for you to be consistent with your organic content, you can follow a few reasonably simple steps. Now, what we mentioned in the previous video about your buyer profile, this is going to be absolutely critical when you're creating content. So if you haven't downloaded the buyer profile, go into the Built to Grow crash course right now. It's on episode 3, Offer Architect. There's a link to a Google Doc, which is a prompt that enables you to build your buyer profile. I can't recommend a higher leveraged thing for you to do in the beginning stages of your business, because the buyer profile allows you to understand exactly who your audience is. It's critical that you do this so you can build your business around that. But what you need to do with your buyer profile is leverage this to create content ideas. We are in the world now where AI is absolutely incredible, and there's so much we can do with it. Share your buyer profile with AI. Ask it to help you build more content ideas. It can't be any more simple. What you can also do is you can watch what your competitors are doing, and you can identify what is performing well, right? Literally look at your competitors' content and see, where are they getting the most engagement? What's performing well? What can I replicate? And what topics are they sharing which are extremely valuable that I can also speak about? This is not copying, it's not stealing, but it's just understanding what the market is responding well to and then using that for your own content strategy. Then what I also recommend is creating a content series. So a series enables people to be engaged for a long period of time. For example, your series could be how to lose 10 kg in weight over the next 30 days. Then every day you post a new thing that someone can do to lose weight. The purpose of this is so if someone joins at day 20, they then go back to day 1. If they found day 20 valuable, they'll go back to day 1 and they'll watch through the whole thing. And then if there's an additional 10 days because they're on day 20 and there's a 30-day process, then it's very likely that they're going to follow you to find out the rest of the 10. It's a good way to grow your followers and for people to see you as a credible source in your space. It allows you to become a thought leader, which creates more attention for your business. And as mentioned, with paid media, you want to invest, or you want to reinvest all of your early revenue into ads. So you want to invest back into the business. It's like when you invest in something like Bitcoin, you put a certain amount in, after a period of time, you expect to get a certain amount out. The same goes for your business. Your business generates a certain amount, you put it back in there, it's going to multiply and generate it back out. And once you've understood what that funnel needs to look like, you understand your sales process, you need to use paid media to drive as much traffic to your top of funnel as possible. So then your workflows, your automations, and your sales team can ultimately turn that traffic into more revenue. Ultimately, you put 1,000 in, you get 10,000 out. You put 2,000 in, you get 20,000 out. You put 3,000 in, you get 30,000 out. And you continue doing that until you have enough money where the business just kind of operates on a consistent loop of paid advertisements, content, outbound, going into your top of funnel, and then you're just repeating the process consistently, and you're outsourcing the things that are no longer tasks that you should be focusing on. And it allows you to shift your attention to creating content and delivering an incredible service and improving your product over time so people get better results and ultimately the business grows. And it's as simple as that. So what we've covered today is how to create a funnel that turns leads into booked calls and how to continuously run traffic to your top of funnel. At this point in the process, we've covered how to identify the problem that you're uniquely positioned to solve, how to identify who has that problem, and then how to build a solution or a comprehensive offer that solves that problem. Then we moved on to how to actually create the funnel, how to build the tech stack, how to create those automations so that it's not running with your continuous effort. And then we've spoken about how we can generate more leads, how we can focus on outbound, how we can create great content, and how we can reinvest back into our business in order for it to grow. In the next episode, we're going to be talking about how to conduct effective discovery and sales calls, and then how to onboard our clients efficiently and professionally, and then how to continue that process, iterate our offer, improve our product, and ultimately grow the business. So I'll see you on episode 3. Peace.